Good morning, everyone. This is Alema G. We're Manuia. We're coming to you earlier in the day as we're finishing up with our third week of Facebook Live. So we hope that you have been enjoying some of the content that we've been sharing with you. This week we have a special guest. We'll let him introduce himself, and he's going to share with us a little bit about his story of leaving football for academics. So welcome, Talavou.
Thank you for having me. My name is Talavou Fitisemanu. I'm a former student athlete at Snow College, and right now I'm just working on getting my associates and graduating this fall and looking at transfer. So, I had an opportunity to play football, and it was really good. Love Snow College football and the coaches and the staff there. But recently have decided to step away from football and just to focus on academics and my education outside of the game. So,
what even got you into wanting to play football?
Well, my first years of football was maybe a year after moving from Samoa, and I think it was just a natural incline to play and love for the game. And so ever since I was a kid, you just have the biggest dreams, and so it's always playing in the NFL. And I learned a lot of my life lessons from football and thought I would stick with it until I got there. And so ever since, fourth grade, until this past April, that's what my intentions were to play football all throughout as long as I could. Never did I ever think I would be the one to initiate my own ending of a career, but that's just what we've gotten so far.
Let me ask you. So when we moved from Samoa, and you didn't play football in Samoa, you were pretty young.
Yeah.
But we were playing rugby and touch and all that with all the kids there in Samoa, and then you moved to Arizona, and then as a parent, there's an assessment, right? We're trying to assess what is it that your strengths will be, what activities, because you only have limited time and resources, right?
Yeah.
So what activities should we select so that you can be involved in to get as many lessons in as you can, and we just knew that team sports is a great avenue to learn how to be a good teammate, learn how to work with others, learn how to be teachable, all those things. So I'm mentioning all these things, but what are some of the lessons? Because football, it's unlike many activities. There's so much time that you put into it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are some of those lessons that you you look back on and come away with?
Discipline is probably my biggest lesson taken away from football. Work ethic, understanding how to set goals and to make progress to change, and what it takes to change physically and applying it to the game, and especially like teamwork and doing things and accountability for others. That's a huge lesson that I've taken away from football. Those are just probably my favorite ones right there, that discipline and that teamwork, because it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Your success is so, it's just not selfish. When you do good, usually the team does good, and when you keep that in mind and towards your actions and how you go about your work towards football and towards the game, I think it's a lot more powerful than when you're by yourself and to do things on your own.
So you just mentioned, man, there are books written on each of those lessons, each of those subjects.
Right.
Where professionals go in and they teach and they break it down, but in football you get these reps on a daily basis, and it tests you get to test what you're being taught on a daily basis and see whether it works, doesn't work. So what I love about it is, because what you've mentioned has so much value. Where else can you get those types of lessons under your belt and be able to experience that? I guess what I'm saying is, man, thank goodness for football.
Absolutely. And I got to chime in here, Dad, because I feel like, when you raise your child, each one of them has different strengths. And this kid right here, I knew from a very young age that he had a bite to him. And let me kind of just throw this out to you. So Vo talked about Samoa, and we had lived in Samoa when Vo was he must have been about,
One? Oh, no.
no, probably about 6, right? Or no, younger
Much
than
younger,
that.
yeah. Because
Okay.
he wasn't even there, yeah.
So maybe 4, did you say,
Yeah.
son?
Yeah, he's 4 years old when we moved.
Because I think his older brother was about 6, right in kindergarten, and so that would put Bo a couple years behind, maybe 3 years, so maybe even 3. Anyways, this kid right here grew up watching the Power Rangers, and if any of you know the Power Rangers, I mean, they got a little kikaida in there, they got all the karate chops and, you know, jumping, and anyways, he would never take off his Red Ranger, his red suit, the Power
From
Red.
from Halloween?
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be for Halloween, Dad,
Oh.
but this kid would wear it day in and day out when we were living in Torrance, right, in LA.
You have it on?
Thought we outgrew it.
Nah.
But the interesting thing about Bo is he embodied that Power Ranger. It was like, this is this kid that just unstoppable. And so he would take it off only for me to wash it so that he can put it on again. When we went to Samoa, you'll have to understand that kids over there are very physical and they like to test you, especially if you're coming from the States. And so this kid, he started making friends, and how you make your friends is they like to fight.
What was the school he went to?
It was Mrs. Gabriel.
Mrs.
Right,
Gabriel
Mrs.
and by
Gabriel.
Muscle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when they saw there was this new kid, they're like, oh, we got to see what he's about. And so, you know, they started fighting with him. And then he's thinking, oh man, this is like a Power Ranger movie, right?
Yeah.
And he started kicking back and punching them, and they're like, oh dang, okay, I like this guy. And then he turned to one guy and fight him, and turned to the other guy and fight him. But there was something inside this kid that I knew at a very young age, that there was a drive in him. And then fast forward, moving to the States, and like he was saying, Dad introduced them to football, and it was a way for them to acclimate themselves, not only physically, but socially, in understanding their relation to boys. Yeah.
I love, you know, remembering back to those days there at Samoa. But you know, when we're selecting an activity for you to get involved in, of course, football was there. I played football. But did you think that my intention for you to play football was to play in the NFL?
No. Like, and even if it was, I wouldn't have known, because that was just my dream. And so, yeah, once I caught on to that, it didn't really matter what anyone else thought, because it's whatever I wanted to do.
That's right.
Exactly. Owning it. And certainly that was the case, and I have to tell another little story, okay? So, Bo here in Arizona, you have to weigh in before every game in order to play. Not just once a season, but every game. And so this poor kid, every week, we'd have to watch our P's and Q's, right? Because he's got to make that weight. And for Polynesian kids, that can be very difficult given the age ranges that you play with, right? Those weight restrictions are quite difficult to meet and manage when we're used to eating all the time, especially during the sports season where you're burning so much calories. So Bo knew that, and it was like he had created such a connection with these boys that it's like, man, if Bo doesn't weigh in, this team's not going to bat. And so this poor kid, you know, the season comes around, and just to start the season, he had to drop 15 pounds in 2 weeks. And I thought, man, that's a difficult task for an adult to do, let alone to see your child, you know, become so in tune with their goal and their mindset that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And I gotta say, you know, in Arizona, we'd have to start early. We'd walk at 5 in the morning, and this kid is grumbling as we're out the door trying to beat the heat. And then, of course, we'd come around, we'd walk around the lake, right, in Awatuki. Little Lakewood was our community, and we'd be seeing the track kids out, and here he is, upset, and then he sees the coach. Yeah, coach, hey, I'm out. And it was like, oh, wow. And then it's back to, Mom, why did you know.
This sucks.
He's grumbling the whole way.
The whole
And
way.
as soon as the track coach season's in, hi, Bo. He's, oh yeah, coach. How you doing?
But I gotta tell you, those little lessons, build character, right?
Yeah.
As you're going through that, what was in your mind those 2 weeks of trying to meet that goal?
Yeah, those are like so tough, those 2 weeks, because we did it, I think, twice, 2 years in a row. But it just goes back to what I was talking about earlier, that this isn't just for me, but it's for the boys that I get to see every day. It's for your team. And so I think that definitely gave me more power, because during these 2 weeks, it was also like hell week for football. And so I'd go out in the mornings, do these 5 miles, and then go out to practice. And so in a way it was tougher, but also just was able to remind me every day that, like, it's not just about me. And these guys are kind of pushing for me to get it as well. And so I might as well just buy in. And even though it wasn't the prettiest, it definitely was not the prettiest. Like, no morning was like, let's do this, Mom. Like, no morning was ever like that. But we did it, though.
Yes, we did it. And I actually love those times, because those were the special times you get to spend, with your son, even though he's grumbling, kind of talking and being together. The interesting thing was, so I think it was a couple of years after that, Bo's team got invited to the Nationals in Florida. And that was the ultimate, right?
Well, yeah, we actually lost the state championship game.
Okay.
But it was because of our ranking. I think we were lucky enough to be the wild card.
The wild
to get
card.
thrown in as the 8th seed to the national tournament.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
And so here we go, fundraising, right? It's like been a long season of expenses, and then here you're at the end, and you're fundraising for these kids to go to the national tournament. We show up to the tournament, they're weighing in, and what happens, though?
I didn't make weight. Like, yeah, I didn't make, like, that's just what it was. Yeah, I didn't make weight, and so I didn't even get to play. It
was a slice of cheese, 6 ounces, maybe. And I was just like, what? I'm not understanding, what do you mean he didn't make weight, And I could tell it was a tough pill to swallow, because you've had this season, you've worked, and then it was like, then you get this chance to go on national stage with your boys, and you fundraise, and then you get there, and you couldn't play. And I tell you what, the team was just devastated, and they were just like, oh man, we can't do this. The coaches were trying to fight for him to get another weigh-in, just one weigh-in. It's like, man, that's kind of harsh, But what lesson do you think you took away from that experience?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because that really hit me, like, that really, like, took a toll. But, it's probably my first experiences of where you don't let your circumstances make you, and you don't let it diminish your character, because even after the weigh-in, like, I go to every practice and every game strapped up, suited, and just there for the boys. And it's funny thinking that it was just 6th grade football, but to me it was so much more because of the sweat equity that was involved in this. And I know even the coaches were surprised when I just show up there for the team, and just surprised at how I carried myself, just with a smile on my face and just ready to cheer, because there's nothing else I could do at the time. But yeah, I think it was my first experience of where you decide whether this is going to make or break you, because I wasn't going to play, and I wasn't going to be that immediate impact on the field, but like, I would die before I wouldn't show up to a game or to a practice, because I knew I could help them in some way. And so when I learned that at a young age, then it just propelled me so much further for what life had to throw ever since 6th grade, 7th grade. And when I had that in mind, for a long time, I used to hold that as like one of the hardest things I've done and gone through, training for those seasons, and then that specific experience of not playing and not being able to help. But I knew I knew I had a certain fight to me when I still showed up to every day after that, and every practice and game. And we were blessed enough to play in the national championship that season, that exact tournament. But ever since then, when I think about that experience and how it solidified me just being in control always, whether my circumstances were not in my favor, but I can still exercise like my power to choose my agency and if I'm gonna hold my head high or not. And so, even though it's a tough pill to swallow, it's definitely something I'm extremely thankful for because I carry that with me through every battle till then, till now. And so it was tough for sure, but so grateful for it. So grateful for those trials.
You know, obviously you're getting emotional, and those were tough experiences to go through, tough pill to swallow. But people say the one experience does not dictate who you are, dictate the trajectory that you're going to take in your life, And we just did a video last week, and we talked about the issue of failure, the concept of failure and how that plays a role in our lives. And so I guess what I'm saying is that's exactly how you should be looking at it, It doesn't dictate. No one moment will ever dictate who you are as a person or be able to sum you up in one sentence like that. Because then you misunderstand who we are and what we're about. And we're divine in nature. Our potential is indefinite. So, what that allows you to do is take those lessons in, and it was a great lesson, and then as you piece together things and learn how things work, you have this understanding of how to move on, and then even be a even better teammate to others,
Exactly.
Because you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
And then when people need help, you're even more effective in assisting them and being a boon to them in their lives, And I think that's what it's about. What I love about football is, man, you do things for your team.
Yeah.
And it's important that, kids learn that lesson because it's, in Samoa, we grow up in villages, and it's all about the village. It's never really about an individual. It's about what we can accomplish together. And really, the process of being together helps us be that person, right? Yep. So the process, okay, we only have 3 bananas today, but there's 10 of us. How are we going to do it? Naturally, the Samoan kids go, okay, cut that up, and then we all get a piece, that type of thing, It's,
sharing is good.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, man, so invaluable, the lessons that we gain from football.
So I want to kind of take it back there for a minute, because it was a tough pill to swallow, not only to see your son go through that, but to know, like, how do you move forward? And I remember thinking to myself, man, he just got his heart broken for the first time, and it wasn't even a girl. And I thought, okay, he's gonna be all right, because he's gonna learn to adapt and move forward. The interesting thing was, where did you go after that experience? You said you needed some time away, and so where did you take off to?
You talking about that time with Uncle Dre?
Yeah.
Yeah, just going out to spend time with one of my best friends at the time was my cousin Cole and his family, mom's sister.
Yeah.
And really close with them, and so just went to be with them to kind of just relax, and get out of my own head and just spend time with the ones you love.
The reason why I brought that up particularly is because you just recently attended another national championship, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about that experience.
That was crazy. It was a great experience with snow. So I go in as a walk-on. My name's not even known to the coach. I just show up on day one.
Water boy, right?
Exactly. And then to the very end of the season, and get the opportunity to travel and dress with the team was such a great blessing. But we ended up losing there in the national championship by like 2 points. So,
and did you get to play?
I didn't even get to play. I didn't even touch the field.
But you were suited up.
Yeah.
And supporting the boys, the same role.
Exactly.
Which I thought was wonderful. When this guy, and we've kind of, Dad and I, we were there for the first game, right? The first home game, and it's like, man, why are we showing up? Like, this kid's not going to taste, get a taste of the field. But
that was a very, that was like a thought that cast in our mind, but we weren't about that. We weren't about
Exactly, and Dad brings that to light. You know, family, it's not about when they're achieving that you support. You support the whole journey. And so for us, it was just acknowledging the fact that our kid is actually on a college football team. This is a dream that he's had and we've supported for many years. And this is the stage of the game that we want to enjoy with him. But
we just want to be by.
Yeah. And of course you buy the sports gear, right? We got the t-shirts and it's like, Bill's like, wow, Mom, okay. You know, we're so quick to want to celebrate and support. But I think the interesting thought for me came was at the end of it, you know, when Bo was like, Mom, I'm going to the national champion with Snow College. And I said, what? Why would a coach bring a kid that was basically sitting the bench, right, the whole season, and take him to this level? And actually, he showed us the gear, right? You're getting a number, you're getting a jersey. And
first game, the dress. It's the national championship. I can't tell you all this.
We were in the stands looking across the field there in Arkansas.
Yeah.
We see Bo, man.
Yeah.
He's decked out to
Yeah.
the He got the elbow pad. He got the wristband.
Oh my God.
Did you have a wristband over here?
I should have.
But I was like, the funny thing is, Dad, you know, when we heard that they were going to go to the national championships, of course you're excited, but we didn't think that we were going to go. And then it was like, Mom, I said, Bo said to me, I got a helmet. I said, what? You mean to me that you might be on that? Oh, heck no, I'm not sitting here. I said, Dad, I'm buying a ticket. And Dad's like, wait a second, don't you buy your ticket without buying my ticket. And then it was within a day we had plans to go and support the boys, and especially to acknowledge Bo, because he had expressed to us that he's like, Mom, I'm leaving football. And I was thinking, wait a second, what? This sport, this love that has carried you throughout pretty much, you know, your entire life, he's saying goodbye to. And I feel very confident in Bo because I know that he takes ownership of whatever he does. Like you said, that was his goal, to go to the NFL.
But and if he's not with doing that activity, he is not gonna do that.
Yeah, he's not.
I promise I
He
won't.
has to have his buy-in. And so when we went to the national championship, it was to acknowledge it's an end of an era, you know, and how grateful were we to actually be able to see you suit up in an official college uniform and take, you know, and take place, this event to take place in your life, another national championship. Talk to us about the end of the game and who you were able to see there again.
It was cool. It took place in Little Rock, Arkansas, and that's where my Uncle Dre and my good friend Cole, that's where they lived. And so their family was there. My little cousins were able to come out and support. Auntie and uncle were there too. So it was funny how that kind of came full circle. And two, I guess losses, but great games, you know.
But national losses.
I guess it makes it better. But yeah, to see my family there was huge for me, because to me it just showed them that they acknowledged where my priorities were. Because when I for myself, when I do sell out and commit to something, they know that all my effort and my attention is there, and I feel very comfortable in saying that I put in the same amount of work as anyone that did touch the field that season.
Yeah.
And so it's cool that Mom and Dad it highlights the process over outcome kind of thing. They knew that I was there every day, training and working out hard, discipline, eating good, right, and getting in shape. For them to come, I think it was more than just to acknowledge the game, but to acknowledge all my processes for the past 20 years, you know, playing football, whatever it is. And so it meant a lot to see my family there.
We know it's not easy to do football.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to, you know, football is a great sport, and if you get to play it, it's great. But the what it demands from you, especially at the collegiate level, I mean, is unreal. The time commitment, you really don't have any time. So knowing this, that Bo was going through all that stuff, and knowing that he wasn't quite where he wanted to be, we knew that because of all these experiences, something's going to give. Something's going to give to the point where he's going to, make a decision to find traction, find opportunities, find somewhere that's going to, that all these skills that he has gained, because you amass all kinds of skills and thresholds of ability when you play football. And man, I can't express enough of a person who has come from the football background comes with so much to offer, and if you're a business or an industry, you would be remiss to not have a football player,
Those character traits.
Yeah,
absolutely.
as part of your organization because of the things that they've gone through.
And the team building.
And the other thing too is, because they're so team oriented.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not touting they don't toot their own horn because they know it's about the team.
Right.
But you got to draw that out of them because they got just a wealth of knowledge and conviction and strength that would help any organization.
And it's great that you bring that to light, Dad, because those character traits, they don't leave. Just because football ends, and it always does, right? At some point in time, it always does. But let's talk a little bit about why now. Why did you decide when things are kind of on the upswing and football tryouts are right now?
You got
right?
on the field, you got a uniform and a
coach's
helmet.
attention. But
and
why
then
now?
What's going on? You obviously got to get some traction somewhere
elsewhere.
Yeah. So since coming home from my mission, I finally attained this is before I left. Graduated high school, I finally attained a dream that involved formal education, because up until my senior year, even graduating early, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so now having a dream that involves education, I've decided to apply the same principles and the same work ethic and attention in school that I would with football. And then ever since then, it's just been a no-brainer. The success in the classroom, and then the even opportunities outside of the games that are available when you apply the same principles and the same work ethic and everything you've learned in football to outside of your life, it's the same. I mean, you just get rewarded for it as well. And so I think I just now have a dream that involves formal education, and so that's why I decided to step down.
It's interesting that you talk about that, because many times our kids out there think they're one or the other. They're not both, right? Yeah. They're like, I'm a football player, which means I can't do really well, or I'm not going to do really well in academics. And actually what you're saying is you've kind of skirted that in high school, and now you've found that as you apply the same work ethic, you're getting better results, right?
Mm-hmm. And it just, for me, I'm such I gotta be sold on an idea, or I have to be bought in myself. And so even in high school, when I was definitely well equipped to do well in school, if I don't want to do it, or if I don't see the purpose to it, I won't. And so that's why I didn't.
Yeah.
But now, since I have a purpose and a dream that involves it, then it's going to get my attention and it's going to get the best out of me. And so it wasn't so much I didn't think I could do. Growing up, I was always ahead of honors classes.
It's true.
Done with high school math and middle school type vibe. But if I didn't want to do it, then what's the point of doing it? And so that's why I did it.
Something happened between, I would say it's probably a year ago, starting to happen. So a year ago, you were going to Stone College. We were driving you there, putting you in school, you're going into your dorms, and then in getting ready for the football season, we thought was going to happen in the fall, ended up being in spring.
Right.
But you started to see some things. So some principles that I think that have been in play as well is that you're more than just a football player.
Yep.
You were starting to see that, I'm a football player, but I'm also kind of good at these things, and that's who I am. That's who I am. I have strengths in these things, and I should be exploring those things a little bit, because that could be where I'm going in the future, right?
Yeah.
Then the other thing was there's another principle that you know, some of the things that Geraldine and I were learning as we were being involved in Manuia was starting to, you know, because it really comes down to, because we are divine and we have this divine potential of always learning and can be anything really we decide we want to develop, you know. I was beginning to see that you were starting to glean some of that stuff that we would.
That mindset.
Yeah, the mindset of, you know, that.
Why
not
limit
just,
yourself?
Yeah, this narrow definition of who I am, you know.
Right.
I can actually be all these things that you almost like choosing from a fast food menu who you want to be and what you're about and what's important
You
to
know, we love to go choose all those things off the menu.
and those hard things, but a lot of times people don't choose. They don't know that they can choose.
And they can have more than one choice.
They can
like
have
you
more
don't
than one.
just have to be a football player. And I think that's the exciting thing is that Bo got to discover, man, there's so much more I have to offer. He was starting his art, right, on his mission. Do you want to talk a little bit about the art that you're doing?
Yeah, I had a journal given to me from one of my aunties as well, while I was on my mission, and so it came with like this custom, loving this, but it came with this engraved, with Polynesian tribals and then my last name as well, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And growing up, I've always loved drawing, and specifically the Polynesian tribal patterns, and I started doing the same while I was on my mission, and then even till now, on the side, I just do that for some quick cash, but, you know, just dabbing into the art world a little bit, and then even with digital art.
Back in college, I mean, academic-wise, you were seeing quite different, the results, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your first semester, tell us your GPA for the first semester.
Yeah, I got a 4.0 my first semester.
Okay.
And so once I did that the first semester, I was
Wait,
like,
wait. You had planned to get a 4.0 before you started school?
no.
That I know. Because when we put you in the dorms and we were going down there to put you in school,
Yeah.
it was all football.
All in for
Yeah.
football.
All football.
Yeah.
And 4.0 wasn't part of that equation.
Vision.
When did things start to change?
Well, going into that semester, when keeping my dream in mind with school, I just had two rules for myself, and it wasn't the 4.0, because like 4.0 is such a broad thing, and
Yep.
people think it defines you as a student, but it
Right.
doesn't. My thing was just,
Good
I'm gonna
point.
show up every day, and I'm gonna do my own work and never miss an assignment. And then through those principles, I never didn't get a 4.0. Like, I
You
never
mean
got a B.
you didn't skip any reps?
Never. It's
Nice.
just like football. I never miss anything with football.
There you go.
Someone can't do work for you in football, and so I just treat it the same. Show up.
They can't
do
go,
work.
hey, I got this rep, I'll take that for you.
Like,
And then you get credit.
Like you get better for it. You don't get better for other people's work in football and in life, and so those are my like 3 simple rules, and through that, just got
Repeat those three rules again.
To always show up, never miss a day of class, to always do my own work, and to never miss an assignment. And then,
Never miss a day, do your own work, and never miss an assignment.
Mhm.
I love how you put that into context because, like you say, you know, getting a 4.0
Wait.
is so broad.
You didn't talk about IQ.
Right.
Yeah. You didn't talk about past experiences. You just talked about things you can control.
Yeah.
Man.
If you're gonna be dominant in any area of life, you have to dominate the controllables, because that's all you're given in this life. And so those are my controllables for school. And I know I knocked things out of the park in football, so why would I not? If I claim to have a dream in school, then why would I not knock it out in school as well? And so
Apply the same principles.
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad you simplified it for us though, and Dad kind of clarified it.
Mhm.
There was no IQ in there. So when not that.
Yeah.
No, it's not part of the process.
But yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
that's why
because
I
so
shake
many
my
people
head, 'cause it's
think
not. It's
4.0 is only the brains, right? The smarts, the geniuses. In fact, I think I remember one of the kids saying, "Man, Alema, you're going to Stanford? You're a genius. You're super smart." And he was like, "No." He's like, I'm just like anyone else. I just did the work. You know, you got to do the work." And so I'm so glad that Bo kind of brought that to light. Now, as you move forward, you've continued to hit the mark. How many semesters have you been a 4.0 student?
It'll be 3 now.
3 now.
And it's not even like Well, I've seen now that the 4.0 is not it's not something like you're given, or like a student can't be born a 4.0 student. That's actually like a flaw. Like, no one's born smarter than like anyone else, because knowledge is attained in this, like, starting when you're a kid. And it's all about just doing what you're asked. Just like what a coach would have you do. If you're a good player, you must do what you're asked. And the same thing is for a student. Like, you do the work, or you do what's asked of you. And if you're passionate about it, you tend to do more because you want to learn more. And so
that makes sense, because you're doing things you're asked. It's a coach that's asking you to do it.
Yeah.
He knows more than you, and he knows that if you do these number of tasks in this sequence, you will become something, right? So, you know, when you're doing what you ask, I like that. It keeps it simple. And then what is the result of that? This is somebody who's very capable, very capable. They listen, take an order, they complete the assignment, come back, report back, get reviewed and assessed how they did, and then they can go back, and that whole process just makes you the 4.0. It's not the
It's wonderful, Bo, and I gotta tell you, you know, when you're growing up in a family where you have older siblings, right, such high achievers, and then it comes down to you, what are you gonna do, what's gonna be your mission or your life's work. I'm just so excited for you, because you're ever growing, right? It wasn't just like Bo's a football player, that's all he'll ever be. Now we're seeing all these different sides of you, and it's just so amazing, and which gives me hope, like Dad was saying, for all of our kids. Don't pigeonhole your child at, you know, middle school or high school, even college, as to this is all you're going to be, this is all you can do. Because what you'll understand is, as they apply these principles, their life evolves and changes and gets better and grows. And so just recently you got an award, right? It was that, I guess you guys had a little banquet? Or
just one of the football banquet we had this past season of being a 4.0 student athlete. And so that was something that's cool. I've never been one to hold a GPA to ever define anyone, especially as a student. But it meant something more as I've had these new ambitions to see a 4.0 by my name. And so that was really, really cool. I'm thankful for that.
So you're going back to school, right, in the fall, and where does that put you?
This will be my last semester at Snow College, looking to graduate with the associates. Really excited to reset my GPA. My high school one's not as pretty as this one, so.
But that's the opportunity there, though, for anybody, right? To go to a smaller college, reset the GPA. How does that help you moving forward?
Well, hold on. The only reason why you want to reset the GPA, and let me tell you, his GPA was not bad. Football-wise, his GPA was not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
So you're saying reset the GPA of a GPA that wasn't that bad, but of course we know it was a 4.0. The only reason why you reset it, that you're excited to reset the GPA, is for one reason. What is that?
I got the dream of going to the University of Oxford the next fall.
Where?
Oxford, Mississippi?
Nah,
Oxford, Mississippi? Ole Miss? You going to Ole Miss?
London, man.
London, England.
I'm going to go to England, yeah, and go to the University of Oxford and get my degree in sports psychology over there.
Wow.
On track to become
sports psychology. On track to do what with that?
To be a mental performance coach and to get into mindset training. That's like the dream job right now, and so just taking my steps and aiming high towards that. So
I love that you talk about that, Bo, because there was a time in your life where you needed that mindset support, right? And I think all of our kids, actually anybody who's on this earth, has a physical body and a mind, and those are two things that we have to maintain.
And develop, right?
And develop. But you had gone to, I think it was like a conference, right?
Yeah.
And what changed for you then that helped you decide this was your path?
So after I graduated high school in 2017 in December, from that time of graduation until I left on my mission, we went to this little conference where it was like a bunch of really successful Polynesians and a bunch of fields that
it wasn't just a little conference. It was maybe even a historical conference, because there aren't many that like that happen.
Yeah.
Organized where that kind of talent.
Polly Strong.
So what was the name of the conference?
Pauly Strong. And that's where I was introduced to the sports psychology through Justin Sue and his presentation, and every principle that he shared, I felt like I resonated with when it came to sports and when it came to how I approach my processes with football. And so then I was sold on just, I want to do what he does. I want to share what he shares because I think it's true. At that point, I knew it was true because of all the years of football and training and the application of those principles, where it was just a no-brainer for me. Like, yeah, this is the stuff that I want to share to help athletes. But now, as I've even looked at it and having the chance to speak with them, it's more of the principles that make any person successful, and no matter what the field is, and to just grow as a human being. And so, not even just limited to sports psychology, but even just everyone's mindset when their approach to life. And so that's what sparked that energy and those ideas for sports psychology.
That's so amazing. And now, as we're coming into this time, with our youth, mindset is so critical.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, man, if you didn't learn those lessons at that time in your life, would things be different?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
If I didn't know how to work, if I didn't know how to put myself after others, or to make sure that I keep a team's perspective in mind, that every day my actions count. That was the thing about football, and especially in college, is every action in some way affected the team. How you ate affected the team, because whether you're gonna have energy in the morning, how you slept affected the team, and not to mention your studies, like if you can even play or not. Everything it just added up to being more than accountable to yourself, but to others as well. And if I didn't have those principles now, then I don't know what I would be.
Yeah.
What I love about mindset is, I mean, these are life lessons that everybody should know, right? Or have access to.
Yeah.
Learning how, and a lot of it is how you perceive the problem you're looking at.
How you frame things.
So how you perceive that tells you just how to attack it, or to dismantle it, or take a different route, or whatever it is. But it really has to do with how you think about things. Mm-hmm. And I wish, because there's lots of mental performance coaches happening in the collegiate level. I just wish that it was happening even younger, even youth sports, that the kids learn how to look at their problems in a way that's productive, that builds towards their next lessons. Those types of things that just gives them more capacity to and not get tripped up, I think.
And I think there's a lot of great coaches out there, like you say, that are teaching these life lessons through sports. But as you're moving forward, Vo, to be able to think about Oxford, like who even put that in your mind? Because I know Dad and I weren't thinking Oxford.
Yeah. Well, just in one of my first semesters at Snow, I was just thinking about all the options that I could go for. And when it comes to a transfer school, and so when I knew I started gaining traction and understanding that I can be a good student, you just start thinking higher than like why settle. It's the same mindset with football. Like you're not just shooting for small time schools. That might be your route, but everyone has in mind the NFL, and so it's that same mindset. And then once you start seeing that you can do the things that you think those type of students at prestigious schools do, then it's like why not? Like, and I'm one to dream big, so
why not? Yeah.
But
if not me, why not? Why not me?
Yeah, exactly.
But there had to have been someone that mentioned Oxford, because you've heard of Stanford and Harvard, but Oxford, where did that come from?
Yeah, it was Dad mentioned it to me, like just kind of threw it out there, like, hey, maybe you can even go play rugby overseas. And when I was thinking about prestigious schools that play rugby, that's what came to mind, was Oxford. And then I actually was lucky to meet with our president of Snow College down there, President Cook, and he's actually an alumni from Oxford. And so when he also mentioned it as well, I was like, yeah, all right then, then I'll try to shoot for it, So yeah, that's how
nothing's too big for you, huh?
Yeah.
So it's wonderful that you meet people in your lives that have this impact, just in Sua, as far as figuring out what you'd want to do, and then the president there and him just seeing your potential and not limiting. He didn't look at you and say, hey, you're a football player, you're Polynesian, maybe not Oxford. You know?
Maybe St. George, but
maybe Dixie was up.
But here's an out-of-the-box thinker that says, dude, you're a football player, you've disciplined yourself, you have this mindset. Go for Oxford. Why not? You know, like you're saying. You also had another teacher there that kind of guided you as well, that kind of had an impact on you. What type of influence benefits a student having great teachers?
Yeah, my English professor, Professor Keller, was actually the one that set up that meeting with President when I expressed to her my goals of shooting high. And she's the one that told me that President Cook is a Stanford alumni as well. He has his bachelor's and master's from Stanford,
Wow.
and then went and got his PhD in England at Oxford. And so when she set up that meeting and things started to solidify that this is something I wanted to do, but just her influence and impact has been crazy. As someone who just has shown belief and to always be there to help in any aspect. It just played a big role in my life, specifically right now, to propel me towards chasing this new dream.
Man, you know, as a parent, you can't thank God enough for having people to help your kids in all stages of the game. Like, you as a student, don't ever go on campus thinking you're there alone. There's so much support, but you have to kind of extend yourself, right? To build those relationships, to kind of foster that reason why someone would invest in you, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that a lot of people go to school and maybe even in our community, they go to university and they go to college and they're just thankful to be there, right? They're, thank you so much, I'm here, whatever I need to do, you tell me, I'll do it, you know.
And we are too.
Which is a great attitude. That means you're willing to learn, you're willing to do things, okay. But you gotta take it a step further. It's important that you go there and build real relationships.
Yeah.
Real relationships with these key people. Your financial aid officer, your assigned counselor,
Yes.
The dean and secretary of the college that you want to study. These are the people that are going to be able to do things for you, that just solve so many problems for you. If you don't have a real relationship, this is the kind of relationship. It's the kind of relationship where you go by their office, introduce yourself, and then you come by another day at lunch and you bring them a plate lunch of food or their favorite swig, and you know you're this is a reciprocal relationship where you're looking out for them, and because you have this, you're giving them gifts. I mean, it's about you doing them for them, and then they start to think about you and are willing, because they know you, because they know you know that they like this certain flavor of swig, right?
But Dad's right. It's so important for you as a student. Don't ever feel like it's just you're there at college and you're only there to go to the classroom and that's it.
Silo.
You've gotta, exactly. Don't be a silo. Get out there, meet people, know them by name, have conversations just out of the blue, right? Because you never know. You stop in and then what happens, Bo?
They're just ready to help you in any like way that you need. Like, I got all of my mentors, counselors, coaches, I got their numbers on my phone, and it wouldn't be weird for me to text them at all.
Let's mention some of those right now.
Yeah, let's hear these
Let's
names.
start with financial aid.
There's Angie, and it's funny because
Angie who?
I think it's Dunkel.
Yep, it is. Okay,
but
Thank you, Angie.
She does it all, like for me, like specific. Like she's not even the over financial.
If you go to Snow College and you don't know Angie, you need to go find Angie, introduce yourself, ask her what her favorite swig is,
what her favorite drink is,
and deliver that to her.
Yeah, and then there's any professor, man. Like they're open, but to even have their numbers, like Professor Keller, open to like meet at any time, whatever help I need for these applications for the big schools. Like President Cook, like his email and being able to contact him quick, like you got to invest in these relationships because they're so excited to invest in you when they know you're back in your own dream and you're back in your own actions. And then,
so not only are you taking the occasional plate lunch or something like that to them, right?
Or maybe you should drop one.
maybe I should take it.
But you are you're not sharing with them your dreams.
Yes.
Yeah, because what they do is they're just there to support you, and they're so excited to do so because, especially if you have a dream, because then they don't have to do the step of giving you direction. You carry your own direction, and so when you have that down, and all they are is just a resource, excited to help you, man, that's like the easiest relationships to build, like because they're excited about it, you're excited to meet with them and to share your ambitions and your dreams, and it's just reciprocated energy.
It's just like you have your GPA, you have your reps, you work hard, you have all these things that got you to college. But it's almost like a video game where you haven't even selected the power boost button, to defeat the whatever, If you haven't enacted that, like created relationships with those key people, financial aid officer, your dean, the secretary of the college, all these people, and then your professors, right? Your professors of these subjects that you want to learn from. Man, you really are doing yourself a disservice.
Right.
Because you need their input and their interaction. It's going to teach you even more and give you even more resources.
Well, the interesting thing, because both Dad and I work in higher education, we don't do it for the money, guys. So they are there to invest in these youth and these kids and be a part of the journey. I think that is part of the payback for a lot of these professionals in higher education is they love being part of the journey and witnessing the transformation that happens at this key point in your life that changes the trajectory. I mean, here we were thinking, maybe University of Utah or Utah State University before Snow College started. And now after Snow College, we're thinking Stanford, Oxford. I mean, it's incredible, and I think this is our goal in this work that we do, Vo, is having kids reach for the very best. Why limit yourself, right? You're going to take the rep, you're going to do the work. Go for the best, right?
And if you watched our video last week, failure is not even part of that. We already know it's part of the process, right? So you may get it, you may not get it, but you gotta go for it.
You gotta swing for it. Or it never happens, right?
and you're more confident in swinging for the fences or reaching really high for a high goal when you do the reps, right? When you equip yourself with the strength and you start becoming the person that can go to that school. And I think that's what Bo did for himself was he took the reps, and as he built confidence because of the reps he was taking, he was now becoming the person that goes to these schools, which is just amazing. It's not a trick. It's not like a really, slim chance. You do yourself a favor and bring those odds of achieving your goal when you take the reps that are necessary.
And this amazing story, I mean, man, Bo, like those defining moments, as much as they were tough, so tough to get over, they actually become your strength, like you say, to propel you forward. Now, as you're moving on, what kind of advice would you give to kids that are going this football route? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I'd tell them to just figure out if there's something you really want to do, because then it's not gonna be hard at all. Like there was no part of being a student athlete at Snow that I was considered too hard or something I questioned because I was all in for it. You could throw whatever and I'd be down because I said I was down. I know I'm ready to rock with the student athlete life. But don't also just limit yourself to an athlete. That's like one of the biggest flaws in football and the culture of football is for them to tell you that it's everything, because it's not, and not in a bad way. Like
it's because the work's hard.
Yeah,
and that's why they try to prepare you to do the work. But if anybody was to tell you that that's the only thing that matters, it's a lie, right? That would be the incorrect thing.
And it's like that applies to anything. Like don't ever tell someone they're limited to one thing, because then in their self-concept and who they think they are, they're only this one thing and they can only be one thing.
Right.
But if you want to do something and you can do it to the full extent, and it's something you're passionate about, then there's nothing that'll be too difficult or too hard because you're just naturally inclined.
You can do it.
Yeah, like right now I want to solidify graduating in this fall. I'm excited to to get the associate's degree. Even now, just starting to get into the world of being an artist in many shapes and forms, and it's cool just to see the limitless potential in art these days with technology, and so I'm super excited to get into that as well. And yeah, I think for right now, to just graduate and start getting into the art world, because I see myself being some sort of an artist. Yeah, applying right now through the Common App for Stanford and other schools, and so I'm just writing essays right now.
And this is how they'll assess. Do we absolutely need this on our campus?
Mm-hmm.
Or we can pass on this one, or we got many of these already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the right story, which comes from your experience, and told in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And you only have 650 words.
Yeah.
When you see it from this perspective now, you're able to kind of put it in like context.
Yeah.
This had to happen because of this, and this happened because of this, and I'm here because of that. And everything that leads up to this point in your life, it has to have some impact. And so I would just encourage you parents, don't be so quick to pigeonhole your child.
Or discredit an experience.
Right, right. Because as they get older and they grow and evolve, things are going to be like, I went through this, now I can do this. And so we're so excited for Vo, because leaving football is scary for a lot of kids out there, Vo, because they haven't found something to replace it that they can give their heart to.
And usually it's not them choosing to leave football. It's always through a coach,
Right.
through the cuts of a team.
Cuts of a team.
Yeah, it's never usually them.
Yeah.
Like what?
But I'm glad that you've shared with us your journey, because then it can help kids kind of put it in perspective, that you don't just leave football flat-footed and you start from ground zero again. It's like all of those lessons that we're talking about have built enough character for you to then put it into something else, whether it's academics, whether it's your hobby, whether it's your career. And it sounds like you've got all of those things kind of wrapped up now for you.
Yeah.
You've made those decisions, and that's the hardest thing, is to decide. What do you want? What does life look like after football? So is there any last words that you just want to share, any more advice you'd like to offer?
Just do what you want to do, because I can't stress that enough. And I'm like the worst example of someone, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. But it's like in life, you're given natural talents and things that you're naturally good at, and so why wouldn't you invest in something that you're already kind of about naturally, and then the rewards just mean so much more too. But yeah, just understand your why and to do what you want to do, because if you ain't like choosing and taking advantage of your own life, like you might as well give your life to someone else, because it's
To choose for you, right?
yeah, like that's like the worst. If you're not,
what would life be like?
But a lot of kids live that life.
Yeah.
They allow people to choose and dictate, this is who you are, and they're not about it inside, but it's hard for them. We're so grateful that you're here kind of talking us through this. I think this is our biggest opportunity to help our community, is to understand it's not always about athletics. Like there's so much you have, so much talent, so much that you can give, and certainly reach your dreams by working hard. So, all right.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, Bo.
Thanks, man.
Before we go, we just want to mention this week we'll be tabling at NAI's at the RAC.
7th tournament this weekend, Friday and Saturday. We'll be there answering any questions that you have.
Yes.
Mike would love to connect with you.
So look for our Manuia Life tent. We'll be out there for those 2 days. And then also wanted to let you know that the end of July, we will be having launch for our workshop. It'll be a 5-day workshop. It'll happen every morning, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll have a guest speaker on Sunday, and then Monday, to help prepare our juniors and seniors for the application deadlines that are coming up in November. So we look forward to meeting with you again. Everyone have a great Sunday. Manuia.